Uh-oh, you big goofball. Did you get sold a snake that you're not actually ready for? Did you realize after you got home, oops, you don't really know what you're doing? Did the people at the pet store tell you that ball python is super mega easy? It's the easiest snake in the world? They lied. It's actually a corn snake. Or maybe another snake I haven't heard of. I think corn snakes are easier. Anyway, you're in the right place. This video is here to kind of give you a quick crash course in getting comfortable with snakes and kind of sorting through care guide information and to figuring out what you're supposed to do with these things. They're primarily aimed at people who maybe were uncomfortable with snakes up until the pet store convinced them to buy one. And maybe for people who are more prepared but just want a little bit of extra tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. So before we get started, just to clarify the scope of all of this, this is not meant to be a care guide. For full care guides, you can check out channels such as Green Room Pythons, Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles, or Reptiles in Research. Those are the ones that I've personally gone to a good amount, but I'd say also look into care guides beyond that. Don't just listen to me and what I say. I just think I might have a little bit of helpful advice, especially if you brought the snake home, dumped it out of the box into its tank, and now you're too afraid to check its temperatures because it could bite you. If you reach in there with with one of these, if you reach in with this to check the hot spot and the snake's on the hot spot, he might think he might think you're going to shoot him with a gun, and then he'll bite you. So what do you do about that? How do you check the temperatures? Well, that's the kind of stuff I'm hoping to be able to help with. So first, I'm going to start with handling. The reason I decided to start with handling and not things like needing a thermostat is because, like I said before, if you can't even get your hand near the snake or pick up the snake, you're not going to be able to give the snake the proper care that it needs. So handling is going to be number one. Okay. So if you have a snake like him, you can just let him come out. Oh, he doesn't want me, he just wants to explore. You can let them come out on their own. Because he's on the move, I can pretty easily just reach in and scoop him up. Alright. So I guess we'll have to demonstrate this in two parts. So first, if you're too scared to reach in there and grab your snake, and you're not able to just push past it, which is really the first piece of advice, like it's fine if they bite, just push past it and pick it up. I can understand that doesn't work for everybody. So if that doesn't work for you, you can take a snake hook. And this is for people who are very, very scared. I always just lift up the hide. If you're too afraid to just lift up the hide, you can pick the hide up with the hook and then get it out of the way. And of course, he's not in there because he was too excited to climb everywhere. Oh, Tina, hush. Alright, so I took a look at the video. Number one, a lot of it got lost. Number two, didn't really show the right angle here. Okay, so let's get a good demonstration of this. So you take your hook, you hook it underneath the snake in a thick area of the body, lift the snake up, and then transfer to your hand like that. Tina. For Pete's sake, Tina. And then once they're out, they're much less likely to be afraid of you. Well, I guess it's more appropriate to say they're much more likely to be afraid of you inside, because if you're reaching at them like this, then it can kind of be a scary thing for them, whereas a stick kind of laying next to them, a stick underneath them, a stick, under them in the air, all of those are kind of normal things for snakes to experience, even in nature, so they won't be too scared by that. Earl Grey, just like Captain Picard. Only because I can't drink Ractigino like Cisco. Alright, so you got the snake out of the enclosure, and you're holding him, maybe still a little unsure about it. What do you do with him? Or her, or them, I don't know your snake's identities or whatever. Well, you just kind of hold the snake for a while. Once you are able to hold your ball python, that's half the battle in my opinion. You're able to then confidently reach into the enclosure. You're able to check the parameters. You're able to clean it out, get them clean water, hopefully feed them without too much fear. And hopefully they're already unfrozen thawed. And it's not fun to hold a dead rodent out on some tongs and wait for the terrible startling moment when the snake strikes at it. I get startled every time. Clint from Clint's Reptiles says he also can never get used to the startle of a snake lunging at its prey. But I guess just take comfort in knowing that you're holding tongs and the snake is striking at the prey and not at you. And yeah, I definitely recommend tong feeding, frozen thawed. If you're really, really nervous, you can usually get away with just leaving a rodent in there, but I like to make sure that they actually grab it, wrap it, and engage like a full food response for it. Alright, it'd be cool if he yawned right now. Nah, he's not gonna. That's too bad. So, next, I want to go over some tips on where to focus your attention first on husbandry, because a lot of people, they get the snake and the starter set recommended by the chain pet store that they got the snake at, and then they post into a group online. I've seen this on multiple websites all over the place. They post pictures and they post about the problems they're having. So you see these posts where people are like, "Oh, I got a ball python like 2 weeks ago. Fed it the day after I got it. It regurgitated. I fed it a week later. It regurgitated. There's a weird burning smell coming from the hot side. When I lift up the tank, my dresser is black. What's going on?" And then people comment saying, "Ooh, you should probably get some more clutter in there." And yes, you should get more clutter in there. But let's first address that you're doing internal damage to your snake, and you're gonna cook your snake, and then you're gonna burn your house down. So going online to get advice, it can be really helpful, but it can also be really overwhelming because people will give you so many different things to go after at the same time, and it can be hard to know which things to address first because you can't do them all at once. If you are new and you are overwhelmed and you don't know which aspects of your husbandry you need to address immediately and which ones you can address in a week or a month, I think this will help you with those kinds of priorities. So I have on the top list The top tier of my list here. The most important three things, in my opinion, are temperature, adhesives, and locks. So temperature, most important thing is to have the correct temperature. And that doesn't mean just having a heat mat or a lamp or anything like that. It means having a heat source and a thermostat. You absolutely need one of these. So, if he'll allow me, so this one is about $20 online. I have nicer, more expensive ones. Like there's a Herpstat, which I use for my other enclosure. You don't necessarily need to go that fancy, but you do need some sort of thermostat. So you plug the thermostat into the wall with this plug, and then you plug your heat mat or your light or whatever into this plug. This is made for heat mats. Depending on what kind of heating element you have, you'll want to get the kind of thermostat that works for that. This one, it says right here on the box, BN Link heat mat thermostat. So this was made to be used with heat mats. If you're using a light bulb, a halogen overhead light, you'll want to use a dimming thermostat. They just work slightly differently. This one will turn on a heat mat to heat up until it hits a set temperature, let it cool down, completely shut it off for a few minutes, and then once it gets a certain amount below that temperature, turns it back on to heat it up again. So you have this plugged into the wall, your heat mat plugged into this, and then this is very important. This end is the probe. And if you're using a heat mat, what I recommend is you just take off the suction cup, put the probe on. So if this is your, say this is your tank, you put the probe here, and then you put the heat mat on top of the probe, and you stick it on there real good and secure. And then what you want to do is take a temperature gun, measure the temperature on the part of the tank where the heat mat is, set it to whatever you want your basking temperature to be, and then check with the temperature gun to make sure that the basking spot is hitting that temperature. If it's a little low, you may have to turn up your thermostat. They each have an up and down button so you can adjust what the setting is. If it's getting too hot for your animal, if it's like a few degrees above the basking temperature, you could be at risk of burning them. Then you want to lower the temperature on this, and make sure that you get that correct before you let your animal bask on it. If you don't have a thermostat, if for some reason they sold you a setup without a thermostat, very important, unplug your heating element and don't feed your snake until you get a thermostat on your heating element. The snake can't digest properly without heat, but you can't give the snake heat safely without a thermostat. Snakes can survive being a little cold for a few days, so get a thermostat quickly. You don't want to leave them too cold for an extremely long time, but if you give them a meal and you don't have heat on them, that meal can rot inside of them and make them very sick or kill them. And if you leave a heating element running in their enclosure without a thermostat, that can give them burns, which burns take minutes. Whereas if you have a snake at room temperature in your house, if it's comfortable for you, the snake is not in imminent danger. So definitely don't run a heating element without a thermostat. Don't feed a snake without a heating element. It's very bad if you don't have a thermostat overall. That's the main takeaway here. Get a thermostat as quickly as possible. Let's see. Then we have adhesives on here. So if you bought a pre-made setup at a chain pet store, they probably, I don't even have one to show you as an example, probably gave you a little stick-on circle hygrometer and thermometer that tells you the humidity and temperature inside your enclosure. Don't use that. Don't use anything that sticks into your enclosure, because snakes can climb up on those, pull them down, get them stuck onto them, and end up severely hurting themselves by tearing their skin with it. If that has already happened to your snake, if if I'm saying this, you go check on your snake and you find that it's stuck, there's better guides to check for, but use vegetable oil and massage it in where the adhesive is, and that will start to break down the adhesive. You don't want to just pull it off because that can tear the snake's skin. So adhesives are one of the things I would say are a high priority to get out of there. So aside from adhesives, you want secure locks on your enclosures. You need to make sure that your snake's not escaping. One of the most common things that it seems new keepers run into is they underestimate how many locks they need. They don't get locks. They leave big gaps. I haven't had an escape, so I can't personally speak to the causes. I'm sure I will have an escape someday. I'm not saying, that I'm just better than you. I am, but it's not because I haven't had an escape. There's other reasons. But yeah, you want to be extra careful, and especially if you've got like just an aquarium, you can get latches that hold those on pretty well. Just make sure you have those so the snake can't escape. All right. Once the temperature is all set, there's no adhesives in the tank posing a hazard to the snake, and the lid is secure so the snake won't get out. The next thing you need to really make sure that you have on point is humidity. I didn't have my humidity on point for this guy. I had it around 50-60%. It's not high enough for ball pythons, or at least it wasn't high enough for this guy. I've read guides online that said 50-60% is good. More recent research says it's not. You need higher than that. 70-80 is what I'm seeing now. And this again, not a care guide, but I was having trouble reaching those higher numbers. I thought, well, maybe it'll be okay. It wasn't. You can check my shorts. This guy had a bunch of stuck shed. Had to give him a bath to get it all off. He's doing much better now. But I had to address the underlying issue, which was I needed to get that humidity up to the 70-80% range. Number one product that helped me do that, not sponsored or anything, don't care what brand you use, HVAC foil tape. It's just metal foil with adhesive on it. I know I said no adhesive in the previous thing. This goes on the outside of the enclosure. You put this over your lid. If you've got like the traditional like fish tank metal mesh lid, just cover the whole thing with this. Cover all the mesh on the outside with this, and that will hold in your humidity much, much better. I also personally had very good luck switching to Reptichip soil. Or not soil, substrate. Reptichip substrate was very helpful for me. Tina, are you trying to leave the basement? Ruby. Sorry about that. My cat wanted to go upstairs, and then my dog wanted to chase my cat, and they both got what they wanted. So that's great for them. Okay, so, right, humidity. Reptichip substrate is great in my opinion. That's what I upgraded to from, I switched to that from cypress mulch, and I have had an easier time maintaining humidity since then. It's been in the 70-80% range, and I also put the HVAC tape on the lid. So both of those very helpful for maintaining your humidity correctly. Next thing in the second tier of my husbandry triage advice is clutter. So the benefit of having good clutter is it helps your snake feel confident and secure in their enclosure. A confident and secure snake is much more likely to have healthy, happy interactions with you. He feels safe when he's in his enclosure, and so when I take him out, he's not already on edge. If he's, maybe a little nervous about coming out, he's already having a good enough day. If he was in a sparse enclosure without anywhere to hide, and he felt exposed all the time and he was already on edge, and then I come on top of that to bother him, he's already having a bad day, and now I want him to deal with all of this. That'll be a problem for him. But because he's able to feel safe and secure, he knows he's got a safe home to go to, and he's not feeling on edge and scared all the time. When I do take him out, he's a bit more amenable to trying out new experiences. And then also, good reason for security is that stress can lead to regurgitation. If your snake regurgitates, that can damage their esophagus, and you need to wait 2 weeks before you offer them food again, because they need that much time. Number one, to heal the esophagus from the physical damage of vomiting, and number two, to replace the stomach acids. So humidity and clutter were level 2. All right, and so in my opinion, the last 2 things that you need to worry about are food and enclosure size for your husbandry. So just to review, when you've got a new ball python, you got the starter kit that the pet store gave you, and you're probably not quite doing it right, and you post on Facebook asking for help, and you get 1,000 different answers of 1,000 different things you need to worry about. Top level to be concerned about and to make sure you get right is temperatures. You need to get yourself a digital thermometer and a temperature gun, infrared thermometer, and then adhesives and locks. Second level is humidity and clutter. Final level is the food and enclosure size. And that's not to say the food and enclosure size aren't important. They will die if you don't feed them. These are both critical. But snakes can go a good while without food. So too high temperatures, unregulated heat mat burning would be a problem before humidity. And then humidity would cause trouble shedding, possibly stuck eye caps, possibly stuck tail tip, which could lead to dead tissue on the tip of the tail. Food, they could live a good while before you figure out your food situation. And if you're feeding them something too small, they're still getting food in them. You have some more time to get that dealt with, as opposed to temperatures, which if your snake's at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, it will be dead within minutes. So you get that fixed before the food. I don't have a whole lot of advice with food. This guy eats so well, like I feel like I can't tell other people like advice on feeding their snake, because this guy he's so happy to eat. But I guess I am giving handling advice, and I got like the happiest snake who loves being handled. Enclosure size. So this one, there's a little bit of, people get a little heated, a little controversial about this one. In my opinion on enclosure size, especially if you have a hatchling, people will tell you online, you can put your ball python hatchling in a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot, and like, yes, that works for plenty of people. I've heard plenty of people say that is completely fine. They've done it and had success. But your hatchling ball python isn't going to die because you leave it in a 20-gallon tank for the first 6 months. Right now, I've got this guy in a 10-gallon tank. We've got two 4x2 old-fashioned glass Technics slope top cages that we're gonna renovate, and we're gonna get him in one of those sometime this year. But he's going to be completely fine in his 10-gallon for the time being. He's, completely happy in there. I give him playpen time every day. He is getting close to outgrowing the 10-gallon. He's almost as long as that enclosure is. But, it's not like if his temperatures were off, his humidity was off, or anything like that. He's gonna appreciate having more room once it's available, but he's not in any danger being in 10 gallons for the first few months of his life. He's less than 6 months old, so he's just a little baby. He doesn't really do, actually, he does kind of do more exploring than I've heard little baby ball pythons typically do. He's a pretty brave and confident little guy. But yeah, if you post and you've got people telling you, your enclosure is too small, your humidity is like 5% too low, and you've got all these comments coming in, and then one person asks, do you have a thermostat? You should focus on that one comment first. The one asking if you have a thermostat, because yeah, maybe your enclosure is too small, but your small enclosure isn't going to cook your snake to death tonight. Your lack of a thermostat could. So, yeah, I hope some of this advice is helpful. Look at this little guy. I hope this video didn't suck. Oh, hey, like and subscribe. You should do that. And comment. Leave a comment. His name is Slick Mister. This is my wife's ball python, Slick Mister. Did I forget to say that at the very beginning? Hey, this is me at the very end of recording. This is my wife's ball python, Slick Mister. He's going to be my co-host. He's going to help me out. He's a cute little buddy. Say hi, Slick Mister. Say hello. Alright, yeah, so like, comment, subscribe. Did I miss anything? Did you get a ball python you weren't ready for? Did you run into any problems? Was there any misinformation that you got that I didn't mention? Did anything come in your starter kit that you later found out is potentially deadly to your snake? Let me know down in the comments. You did so good. Oh my god, you're so cute. Guys, he's so cute. Look at this little guy. Also, you want to look at some of his, you got some faces on him. Some people, I've seen people in other videos call these alien faces. He's got so many of them, and they are so cute. Some of them look like little frogs, in my opinion. Like, oh, no, come on. Let the people at home see your frog. You see the happy frog there? Yeah, we got a happy frog. Alright, bye. Tina. For Pete's sake, Tina.